You are not going to run out of money. That's the big fear in this country. And I'm talking to you, the person watching this video, most likely. You're not going to run out. You might be at the point where you've saved up enough for retirement. You're thinking about making the retirement plunge. You may have just retired, or you may be a couple years away still, but there's still this scary thought of running out of money, becoming destitute, and not having enough to last for the rest of your life. It's very common. I'm not talking about the people that are living paycheck to paycheck and don't have anything saved. And those aren't necessarily people watching this video anyway. The people watching are into retirement, they're thinking about retirement, and they have that 401k built up or that IRA built up, and they want to figure out, do I have enough? And they're scared. So I'm here to tell you, you're not going to run out of money. And you know who else is here to talk to me about this? My favorite sidekick, Tony Shore. Now, Tony, I'm going to ask you this question because you know a lot of people. You've met a lot of financial advisors that have told you different stories. You've even have a lot of family members and friends that are at different socioeconomic status, different points in their life. And the question I have for you is this. Have you ever talked to anyone or met anyone or heard about anyone that has just become destitute and run out of money in retirement?
No, I personally have not, ever. Nope. Not at all.
I'm going to say the same. I've not run into people that have run out of money. Obviously, my clients paying me to make sure that doesn't happen, but even still, I haven't heard of people that are destitute because of they retired and ran out. And the reason is people make adjustments. It's rare that someone would just go broke from a single event happening.
Yeah, I don't know of that ever happening to anyone I've ever met or known about. So, and I know a lot of people who have retired and who have lived their lives in retirement, relatives, family, friends. I know a lot of advisors who work with people. None of their clients have ever run out of money in retirement. So it's interesting. It's a good point. But why then, Dan, do I constantly read studies and see articles and hear people talking about the number one fear people have about retirement is running out of money in retirement?
Well, fear sells. What does it sell? It sells financial advice. It sells financial products.
Yeah. Yeah.
But generally speaking, people fear the unknown, and retirement is an unknown. You'll never truly know. So, and you're right, though. People fear that more than death. I don't want to be destitute. I don't want to leave my kids. I don't want to be in a nursing home. You know, all these things people say. And what does it usually do? It freezes people up.
Yeah.
I'm just going to work. I'm going to work one more year. I'm going to not retire so my wife can have health insurance.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to, and a lot of times they're avoiding something else. And the fear of running out is the crutch. But what I want to talk about today are 7 reasons people could run out of money. And I say could because most of these are avoidable, truly avoidable. But I want to say 7 that are big, that I hear a lot. And I'm going to start with the most avoidable and work my way down to the least avoidable. So the most unavoidable.
Okay.
All right. And we'll talk about these, but I bet you know what the first one's going to be. People run out of money. Why do you run out of money? Or why could you run out of money?
You spend it.
You spend it. You spend it frivolously. And I say frivolously, and it's not just spending it on new shoes or that fancy car, which people do, but it's giving it away, spending it on your kids, enabling friends that don't have it, or buying stuff you don't need.
We did the show on lottery winners and the studies on lottery winners. No matter how much they win, you can put that show up there and they can click on the link and listen to that show about how people can win hundreds of millions of dollars and end up broke because they give it away to friends. They get a posse. It's a story. I worked for a small record company in Southern California, Dan, and an artist. It's the great story because my boss, I can say his name, Mike McLean at Frontline Records, We had an artist named John Gibson. He was like a contemporary Christian gospel kind of singer, very talented, sounded like Stevie Wonder, but he had this young kid do a rap on one of his songs called MC Hammer, right? From San Francisco, right? And this, nobody had heard of him. Guy didn't have any recordings out. So MC Hammer recorded this demo, an album, and brought it to Mike McLean and said, would you sign me to your label, put out my album? And Mike looked at him and said, nope. That's a fad. Rap is a fad. It's not going to take. And I just don't think it has any lasting. So we don't want to get into that. That's what Mike told him. And Mike will tell this story because it's just one of those, like, he turned down MC Hammer. And a year later, that record came out and sold 10 million copies, right? So that's
MC Hammer made a ton of money on that.
Yeah, he did. That's my point. MC Hammer he was so huge, sold so many records. He actually made millions and millions of dollars, got a posse. You should see his house that he bought. I drove past it once in the Bay Area, that he no longer owns because he went bankrupt. Like, I think within 10 years, he was broke.
Is he destitute now? Is he living on the streets?
No, I don't think so.
No. Is he adjusted? But this is a way you could get there, right? If you spend frivolously. He did have a big posse. I remember that story.
Yeah.
But this could be also just buying that extra stuff you don't need to impress people you don't really care about anyway.
Right.
But, the living within your means is the number one success factor to retirement successfully. And we did a whole show on living within your means. But so that's totally under your control, though. So this fear of running out of money, is it really a fear of running out of money, or is it a fear of not living crazy lifestyle that you want to live?
Right.
Number 6, racking up debt. So this could go hand in hand with spending frivolously, but spending on debt. And now when we see interest rates on credit cards are getting close to 30%, 30%.
Yeah.
Like anything, people are complaining about a 7% mortgage rate. What if you have a credit card paying 25% interest? That's terrible. So if you rack up too much debt, you can get into a spiral where you can never overcome. Totally controllable as well. You might say, Dan, I got medical debt. Okay, I didn't expect that. Or my son, needed bail money. Again, though, this is controllable.
Right.
So I want people to understand that. But this is something that could make you run out of money. But this is not what people fear. They don't fear, I can't retire because I spend too much or I rack up debt. No, they fear, I don't have enough. Enough for what? To live frivolously and rack up debt? Yeah, no one's got enough for that. You give me any amount of money, I can go in debt real quick, right? Brewster's Millions.
Yep.
Number 5, it just on the other day, I saw it. I was like, do I want to show my kids this movie? Number 5, we're getting closer and closer to things that are out of your control, but market corrections. Yeah. We did the show. Everyone's got a plan until you get punched in the face. And market corrections was one of the 3 punches that I talk about. Market corrections. Sequence risk. I'll put the show up here. Sequence risk. Watch that show. Bottom line is, when you retire, if all your money's in the stock market when you retire, and the stock market goes down 40%, you could say, I can't control the stock market because no one can. No one knows what it's going to do. But you could control how much risk you're taking. You could control how much you put into it. So again, people that say, I'm afraid of running out of money, then they should be questioning how much of their money is at risk. Totally controllable. You can't control the market, but you can control how much is in the market.
Yeah. There you go. That's true. You can control how your assets are allocated or where your money is at. And you've said before, a lot of people say it's not necessarily how much you have, but where it's at and when you need it, right?
Yes.
It's
if you need money this year, you don't put it in the stock market if you need to spend it. What if the market goes down through no fault of your own? So you can't control that, but you can control how much you put in, right? Now we're getting down to things more and more out of your control. Well, I'll say a lot of this stuff, or none of it's in our control, but a lot of it could be considered in your control. Number 4, you lose a spouse. Whether you get divorced, which
Mhm.
I've yet to find anyone that said divorce was the great, financial outcome. It always seems that there's always a messy divorce, and financially, everyone's worse off after a divorce. I just,
Yes.
so,
Yeah, I talk to a lot of
um,
people who say they're worse off financially because of the divorce.
all right, both sides.
Yeah.
Like, so who's the winner here? The lawyer?
Yeah,
Um, you know,
probably the attorneys.
or if you lose a spouse to death,
Yeah.
particularly, we're talking about, there's a retirement show. When you lose a spouse to death, you lose Social Security, one of them, and so the income goes down. They may have a pension that you lose.
Yep.
So this could be a negative impact on your financials and running out of money if you lose a spouse. But again, you can't control losing a spouse. Now, health wise, you can improve your own health and protect your spouse, but you can all prepare for the loss of a spouse. You could financial contingencies should include what happens if I lose my spouse. Divorce is tough. Divorce is a tough one,
Yeah.
but gray divorce is happening more and more.
It is. That's
People,
true. I hear about that, and that's too bad. I mean, it's just that's an interesting phenomenon in and of
yeah,
itself. But yeah, I mean, you can't necessarily control the loss of a spouse or a divorce. I mean, somewhat, but you can work with one thing you can do to help with all of these things is work with a financial professional and try to have a plan that will hedge against, you can hedge against these outcomes at least somewhat, right? Financially.
again, I have a lot of my clients are divorced, and mostly women, and the the idea is and some of them had a financial advisor prior to getting divorced. I think the stat is staggering, like 80 something percent of um, women get a new advisor when they get a divorce or lose their husband. It's because a lot of so yes, getting a financial advisor as a married couple is smart, but make sure that advisor is talking to both of you, that you're both engaged in that. You
Yeah,
don't want to
if
be
it's
the helpless spouse,
a lot of
you know?
women view their that's my husband's financial advisor. So when they're gone, I
Mhm.
want my own person that I have a relationship with. No, you should have a relationship with them together as a couple. You should
Yes.
both have that relationship. And if your advisor is viewed as some, oh, that's my husband's friend or advisor, or that's, or my wife's friend or advisor. No, it shouldn't be that way. They should be working for both of you as a couple, and you should both get to know them and be fully involved.
Yeah. I've actually have clients who I'm the financial advisor for both, even though they're divorced.
Yeah.
We don't talk about finances, but some might think, oh, that's awkward. But you got to have trust in your advisor that they're a fiduciary. They're not gonna be
Yeah.
talking about this stuff.
No, no.
So, but there are some elements of this that are out of your control. I mean,
Oh
so
yeah.
I see
For
that. But
sure.
this is not an excuse not to retire or be fearful of running out. You shouldn't be saying, "What if my spouse dies? I'm going to run out." No, you should say, "What if my spouse dies? What am I going to do? Let me plan." You know. Now we're getting down top 3 that less and less control. You have a negative health event.
Hmm.
This is another one of those 3 punches that I talk about. Long-term care. You have a stroke and you can't, you got to hire somebody to help. Long-term care is expensive. It happens. And I think this is probably the one that people think about the most when it comes to being destitute or running out of money.
Well,
I think this is the
sure.
biggest fear,
Yeah.
right? And so what if I have a bad health experience and I run out of money because I have to pay for this long-term care, which Medicare does not cover. I'll put the show up here, the 4 ways to pay for long-term care. It's worth watching if you haven't seen that yet.
Yeah.
Bottom line is you got to take care of yourself. Spending money on yourself so that you don't deteriorate is useful. Um, changes to lifestyle to live a healthier life. But again, some things just can't be avoided. So you can have contingency plans so that you can prepare for a long-term care event. How will we pay for long-term care if it happens. If you never get that conversation started, then you'll always fear it. You'll always fear running out because you have absolutely no idea how you're going to do it. It might easily be solved, or it might not. It might be painful. But if you don't know, you'll fear it. And then you'll always run in the back of your mind, I never have enough. And then you'll keep working.
Yeah.
This is especially true if you have parents that went through it.
Yeah, like me. I have parents that are going through it, and long-term care is, anywhere between $5,000 and $12,000 a month. So that's why people fear running. You can go through your retirement savings pretty quick at that clip, but there are ways to plan ahead to pay for that, like you said, and you posted that show. I think that's a really good one that we did on long-term care. I think that's one of the more legitimate, a lot of these things are fear this, fear that. You're going to run out of money in retirement. You need to fear, fear, fear. I think the thing that people legitimately should be aware of and wake up about is the cost of healthcare and retirement and long-term care, because I've seen that. And I don't mean to be one of the fear mongers, but again, you don't have to worry about it if you're working with a trusted financial professional who's a fiduciary, who's going to look out for your best interests and help you plan on ways to help cover that cost ahead of time.
Let's challenge that a little bit, Tony. Okay. Let's say your dad needs long-term care and, oh my God, it's costing $5,000 a month. That's a lot. Well, how much is he spending now? The income right now, it's a change of lifestyle. Instead of traveling and doing things and going out for dinners and visiting grandkids and you're in a facility, right?
Yeah.
So all your money and assets will just get shifted to going on you and spending it the way you want, to going to the nursing home to spend how they want. People don't like that, but that doesn't mean you're going to be destitute.
True.
Medicaid can kick in. The state, wherever state you live in, has criteria. If you run out of money, the state will kick in. I don't want to be in a state facility. Well, no one does. But it doesn't mean you're going to be destitute and on the streets. You might say, oh, I don't want to leave my house. Well, if you have to leave your house, that doesn't mean you have to leave the house to the kids. You could sell your house. Maybe it's worth $400,000, which used to be ridiculous, but now any house seems to be worth $400,000.
Yeah,
that could pay for it. That could pay for loan. Well, I want the kids to get the house. Well, doesn't everybody? I want to leave all my kids $20 million. Well, I don't want to leave my kids $20 million. Didn't what's his face? Just say that there was an interview. Buffett. Warren Buffett said it. We did a show on that one with his son. But I think Elon Musk or someone like that said, I'm not going to leave my kids. What's a bad thing to do? Leave them money. But again, people, the sacred cow, this house, I can't touch the equity in my home.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
If it's raining outside, you have an umbrella, use it. Again, it's just a mind shift, and people fear running out, but they don't fear. What they really fear is a catastrophic situation where you've run out of money, you have to pay the bills, you've racked up credit card debt, and you've sold your house, and you still don't have enough money. You mean to tell me that's going to happen for most people? No. They're going to change their lifestyle. They're going to stop the spending. They're going to go to a smaller facility. They're going to go live with their kids. They're going to do something different. There are people that will be destitute, yes, but they're not typically the people that have an asset like a home already. Right?
No.
I think the long-term care is overblown. I think people are scared of it because no one wants to be in it, but they're more fearful of the event happening than they are about the financial consequences of it.
That's a good point. Yep. Okay. I see it's a good angle to take on that. I think that's, you have a good point there.
People always forget their home, the value of their home. They don't, I don't want to sell my home. Oh, who does?
Yeah.
But it's there. Okay. Number 2, you live longer than you planned. Now, this happened to us as a whole. The country, Social Security system is going bankrupt because
people are living
lived
longer.
a lot longer than we expected.
Yeah. Well, Dan, there's some good news. I've got some good news. The good news is we're living longer. The bad news is we're living longer.
Exactly. So when I talk to people, and men, we did the show on how men underestimate their living, how long they're going to live, and women get it right or slightly overestimate. So um, we think, oh, I'm going to die at 82. Well, what happens if you live to 85 or 92?
Or
You know,
101, like my
or
grandfather.
101. Grandpa Bob, right? Did Grandpa Bob ever worry about running out of money?
I don't think so.
Do you know?
I don't think so.
Did he think he was going to live to 101 years old?
I think he thought he would live forever. He's a unique, but he's an odd bird. You
You
can't
say
use
the
Grandpa
same, though.
Bob for that. He was he when he turned 90, he's like, here's my plan for the next 20 years.
I love it. He has a good attitude, right? And I think attitude goes a long way into this.
It does go a long way. And he did have goals. He got up early every morning, went out, did stuff. Yeah. I mean, all the way up until about 2 months before he died, he was active. So,
and this is a choice for a lot of people.
yeah.
I think the science will say if you stay sedentary, you don't do anything, you don't have any surrounding people around you, you're not going to live as long.
Early. Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
If you want to live longer, I'm not saying you're going to live longer just by hoping and willing it, but what I'm saying is you can't let this fear of living long life work and being destitute, because what will fundamentally happen, Tony, and Social Security is a big factor in this. You have some sort of guaranteed income.
Yeah, there are some safety nets.
There are some, right? And if you spend all that down and you're just stuck living on Social Security, that might be okay at age 100. Like, are you really doing? Now, your grandfather was the exception to the rule. He was driving an RV at that age, right? So, which, I know people my age that couldn't even handle an RV.
Right.
Right. So, I think people living longer than they planned is something that you can at least plan for. But if you happen to outlive it, it's not the end of the world, literally, because you're still alive.
Yeah.
You'll make do. You'll make adjustments. And you tend to slow down anyway.
Yep.
All right. Do you have any idea what the number one factor that is mostly out of control? It is out of people's control, but everyone has to face it. And
taxes?
I didn't put taxes in here because that's usually people, in order to be paying taxes, that means you have income. So you're not going to be destitute.
Have income. That's true. Good point.
What people will do is they'll take a big chunk out of their IRA thinking, oh, I got to pay this off. And then, oh, by the way, you owe $20,000 in taxes on that. Oh, I forgot about that. And then they have to go on a credit card. So making a bad tax move can hurt you.
Well, then I don't know what you have for number one. I don't know what that would be.
This one is completely out of everyone's control. Everyone gets impacted by it equally. Inflation.
Inflation.
So you may not run out of money per se, but your buying power is going to go down. It will go down. $100,000 today is not $100,000 in 20 years, and it's certainly not $100,000 20 years ago. So if you don't factor in inflation, this could eat up your buying power. And so fundamentally, you're running out of buying power, which is people don't see that as an immediate threat, but it's the silent killer. We've done shows on inflation and how it's the silent killer. But how do you combat inflation? That was in the show up there. I'll put it up there. But the bottom line in this, you have to factor it in because it's there. It's a guarantee.
Yeah, it's completely out of your control, but you can factor it into your future financial plans. Like, I know when you create a plan, a lot of advisors, and you might do this, is they throw in 5%, a year inflation into the factor, into the algorithm to figure out how much you're going to need to live on each year, right?
Right. And so your choices are: you build a plan that has increasing income and to factor in against inflation. You don't factor in inflation, just say, I'm just going to reduce my lifestyle. That's a legitimate way of handling it too. But I don't think, I believe that people's fear of running out of money, oh, things are going to cost so much, I'm not going to have enough, I'm going to stop working. It's legitimate, but it shouldn't stop you from retiring. It's not like it's inflation's, and we had a big inflation in 2022, 2023. This is huge inflationary in times. It'll level off eventually. And unless we're going to be in hyperinflation, then you're going to have bigger problems than everyone's going to run out of money, right?
Yeah.
And everyone will adjust and life will be different. So I don't know. I don't see the answer to inflation being, let me work another year, one more year, because you're never going to retire at that point. You can make a case on any of these that you should never retire. But then what are you doing?
Yeah.
Look at Dianne Feinstein.
Yeah.
She passed away. She had voted a couple days before. Like, what was her retirement like? Do you think it was a money thing?
She didn't have
No.
one.
I don't think she feared of running out of money. That's not why she was working there.
No.
It was a power thing, or it was an identity thing. So this idea of running out of money is overblown. And people need to rethink that. The reality is it just doesn't happen. People adjust their lifestyle. They make changes. They make sacrifices. They invest. They protect. They buy things to protect. They come up with plans. People just don't, oh my God, they're running along. Oh, I have to cut a check for $300,000. How often does that happen? Where you're in a situation where someone says, you owe us $300,000 today. And you're like, that's all my money. That's all I got to my name. I'm out. I'm done. It doesn't happen that much. It's overblown. But if you're still concerned about it, which most people are, the only thing you need to do is identify these risks and remove the uncertainty of it. Even if it is inflation, I can't remove it. I can't get rid of it. But at least I know, all right, it's there. Here's how I'm going to prep for it. Here's how I'm going to invest. That plan will eliminate a lot of the unknown, which is what causes fear.
What I like, Dan, what you're saying here in your conclusion, what I like about it is don't delay happiness due to fear. In other words, you've got to live your life. You need to enjoy retirement, especially when you're still young and healthy enough to enjoy retirement. I think that's important.
And some of those fears of, I'm going to keep working because I'm going to run out. I'm going to keep working so I can keep health insurance. Those are not accurate. You're not going to run out. You can get other health insurance. It's most likely you don't want to retire because you don't know what you're going to do. You're going to be bored. Your identity is tied to work. And so this idea of running out of money is not really the main issue. It's something else going on that you need to address. So I just want to throw that out there. Of course, I said in the beginning, a caveat, there are people that will run out of money, but those are typically going to be people that didn't have the money to begin with. It's like the old adage when I started working on Wall Street. The best way to make a small fortune, Tony? You start with a really large fortune and work your way down. That's the secret to creating a small fortune. It's the same with retirement.
How do I make $1 million? Start with 2 million and work your way down.
Right. Yeah. So same with retirement. When's the best time to retire? Well, do the math, but don't just say I'm never going to retire because I'm afraid I'm going to run out. Then you'll always work. But if you like it, if you enjoy it, and you're happy, then keep working. You don't have to retire, and don't be vilified for continuing to work. Just don't say you're doing it because you're afraid of running out.
Right. Good point.
Tony, thanks as always for a good show. I appreciate it. We'll catch everyone next week.
All matters discussed in today's show are for informational purposes only.
This show is not investment advice.
Dan Riddle nor Dolphin Financial Group are affiliated or endorsed by any government agency.
Investment advisory services are offered through Dolphin Wealth Management, Inc., a registered investment advisor in the state of Florida.
Insurance products and services are offered through Dolphin Insurance, Inc.
Dolphin Wealth Management, Inc. and Dolphin Insurance, Inc. are affiliated companies doing businesses as Dolphin Financial Group.
You should talk to someone at Dolphin Financial Group before implementing any of these strategies or ideas.